Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Jason Neufeld. Hi, Jason.
Hello, Adi. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Excellent. Thank you so much for inviting me here today.
Oh, you're very welcome. You know, I'm excited about our conversation. And I'm going to say in a second why. But first of all, I want to give a big shout out to Bob Berg, our mutual friend, right? And Jeff West, which basically we met in a conference that they put together.
Right.
And, you know, they are such great connectors, and they connected me with such great people that many of them became guests on this podcast, like Kim and Jelly, who was there as well, right?
Great.
So absolutely a big shout out to them and to Kim as well, because they all put this amazing conference. We met there, and then I go, okay, Jason, I want to bring you on the podcast because I want to share with our audience, you know, your journey as an entrepreneur and also what you do, which is very, very important. So now let's go into your bio so our listeners will know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So, Jason, you are an award-winning elder law attorney in Florida.
Correct.
And you're the author, you're a leader in the elder community. You are on the board of directors of the Academy of Florida Elder Law Attorneys, and you teach other attorneys. And on top of it, you really build your practice based on systematization, and you're a firm believer in systematizing, in delegation. So we're going to share your story and your success with our listeners so they can learn from it, and also inspire them to do the same. So anything you would like to add to this bio?
No, you did a great job. I should pay you to introduce me everywhere I speak. That's great. Thank you.
Not a problem. We'll work the contract later. I know a good lawyer. But other than that, any stories that a story that maybe you would like to share, how you got to where you got to?
Yeah, I mean, I built the practice around the idea that I can do well by doing good. And we work with a typically underserved community, which is the elderly and the disabled community throughout Florida. And we help them. What I spend most of my time doing is helping them protect their assets, qualifying them for programs to help them stay at home longer, or if they have to be in a facility, pay for that facility. And what goes along with that is, of course, estate planning and probate. And so we've built out this very robust elder law practice over the last about 10 years. I've been in this field, and it's been very rewarding professionally and just on an emotional level. The amount of people we're able to help it really makes me look forward to coming to work every day.
That's very important. Yeah. That is absolutely very important. Mm-hmm. So when you started 10 years ago, how big was your practice?
Yeah, I mean, it really was. So I used to do another area of law. I used to do personal injury law, and I found myself gravitating away from litigation more towards this area. So as of 10 years ago, it was a very small percentage of what I did. And then eventually I started my own law firm. 10 years ago is when I started my own law firm, and decided I wanted to focus full time on this. So it started out, it was just me and a receptionist, and it was like that for probably about a year. And then from there, we slowly had to hire staff. I learned the difficult way that you can't do everything by yourself. Lawyers, I think, are inherently, we're doers. We don't like trusting other people to do. We think we know best. And it holds a lot of us back. It held me back for a very long time until you realize you have to let go of certain things, especially things that you don't want to do, or that you recognize, if you're honest with yourself, that you're not particularly good at. And you want to bring in the people who are going to be there to do the things that you don't want to do, or who are going to do things better than you can do it. You need to surround yourself with good people. And that's the only way I've been able to grow. And I'm not done yet. I've got a lot more to do. I don't think I have all the answers. I think I have a lot more to learn, and I enjoy that part of it. I kind of enjoy the struggle and overcoming obstacles and moving on to the next problem. And it's a fun experience for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So from your experience, what do you think? I mean, you shared some of the fears or the trepidations in terms of hiring. Do you feel like you might have waited a little bit too long to start hiring, or do you feel like you knew exactly what you needed to do?
No, I think I waited way too long. I think that I remember reaching a certain revenue level and going to myself, I don't know what to do. I'm working my butt off, and I can't breach this revenue goal that I have, and languish like that for a few years, pulling my hair out and feeling like I really starting to doubt myself. And I'm going, I know I can do this. I just don't know the way forward. So I became a big believer in coaching. So I went through, I've gone through a few different coaches over the years. And I know it sounds silly, but one of the first things that the first coach I hired said, they go, how come you haven't hired somebody else yet? And I said, because it's so hard to find good people. And he goes, no, it's not that hard to find good people. You don't have systems in place. And if you're going to do everything yourself, you're never going to get anything done. You could hire the best person in the world, and if you don't have an onboarding program, and if they don't know what they're supposed to do, and they don't know what metrics they're supposed to meet, then of course you're going to stay like this forever. And it was like this kind of light bulb moment, duh. And finally, I hired my second someone who's not a receptionist. I hired my first, substantive employee. And almost every time I've hired someone, it's that's been the problem. It's just, we grow, we get stuck in our ways, and we go, okay, it's time to grow some more. And when we hire new people, it's almost always led to growth.
Absolutely.
And it's
let's go back to that time when you were actually felt like you were waiting too long.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know some of our listeners can identify with it, right? And I think it's important to also recognize the symptoms at that time.
Yeah.
What were you feeling? I mean, what were you going through in terms of, I don't want to hire right now. I'm not ready. This is not the right time.
I think the fear is, are we going to be able to afford it? That's the fears. Are we going to be able to make payroll? And, I have to feed my own family, and I have to put money into my marketing. I have to put money into, all these other things that I'm doing. And the fear, I think the fear is that it could all go away at a moment, right? And even if you get to the point where even now it's there are people I know I should be hiring, and I'm probably not, because even though I know I can well afford it, I'm worried about things going wrong. And every time I prove myself wrong, because as we improve our systems and policies and procedures, people fall into place. They know exactly what it is they're supposed to do. And it frees me up to do higher value activities, like more presentations and writing and putting up educational videos, which are things that I like to do, and being a good lawyer and making sure that I'm overseeing the cases properly, because I'm not stuck in the minutia of what it really takes to run a business.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So let's take a look at that fear of things going wrong. What were you imagining can go wrong?
Clients stop showing up. And, the client, even though I know I have a good expectation of how many clients will be signing up in any particular month, what if next month is different? And what if, what's been working for me suddenly stops working? It's just they're mostly irrational fears. They're mostly irrational. I recognize that, but and I probably recognized it back, all those years ago also, where I go, gosh, I know this is probably not the case. I've been doing the same thing for years, and it's very consistent for years. Why would things change next month just because I'm hiring somebody new? It makes no sense. But no one said fear had to be rational. You're
absolutely right. So it is not. Yeah, I agree with you, because I've experienced it myself. I experienced it with other entrepreneurs. I mean, it's not rational. What I found is that the more stability and the more order, like you said, the systems and the processes are in place, then you can actually overcome that
Yeah.
fear because you have predictability. And I'm sure, look, you're dealing with like the people you are helping, there is a lot of unpredictability, and I'm sure a lot of fear. I'm sure you have to reassure your clients, which might be the elder population, but also they're basically their children, right?
Correct.
Or their
Exactly
family.
right. You got it.
And I'm sure that there is a lot of what if scenarios. Maybe we're not there now, but what if, mom or dad are going to deteriorate? What's going to happen here? What's going to happen there? So if you can make the analogy of you have that fear and you are actually helping people with what you do to overcome that fear by putting predictability or taking the precautions ahead of time, right? I mean, that's how you help people. How would you see the analogy to the business of what you did in terms of creating predictable systems?
Yeah, it's with system in terms of, for example, we can use intake as an example. For a long time, I was growing and I didn't know why I was growing. I didn't know where all my leads were coming from. So you should be able to, if you have the right systems in place, know, for example, how many leads are coming in? Where are they coming from? Which of those leads are qualified leads, which are not qualified leads? About how many of those, of the qualified leads, are going to schedule a consultation, and about how many of those are going to wind up hiring you. You should know that, because after 3, 4, 5 months, there's predictability, unless you do something drastic. But these ratios tend to stay about the same. And so with that knowledge, once you have that knowledge, now you can start to make more intelligent decisions as a business owners, like Facebook ads don't work for me. Promoting YouTube is fantastic for me. So if I'm ready to grow and I want to put more budget into my YouTube videos and promoting them, I know I should start to see an increase in leads, which therefore I'm going to see an increase in qualified leads and scheduled consultations and eventual clients. So there's predictability if you have control of your policies and procedures. And then where I'm struggling with right now is we want to get to the point where I can grow and I know when it's time to hire new people. I should know when my staff are getting overwhelmed and have someone in place before they get overwhelmed. I'm still struggling with that. So we're trying to, we're still, these goals are always a moving target, and we're trying to get there. And that's why we're, thinking about hiring, highly specialized consultants like yourself to get us the right systems in place so we can have that level of predictability, because I'm not there yet. But we've made lots of drastic improvements from where we were. And again, like I said, there's always room for improvement for the future.
There is always, and you always move to the next level and the next level and the next level. Absolutely.
That's right.
And you always want to take the unpredictability out and put the whatever you can predict, because then there will be an opportunity to conquer more unpredictability, right? That's the way I look at it. Because I'm sure before you started with your YouTube channel, which is very successful, and this is actually a great time to give a plug for it. What if people want to watch you on YouTube, where should they go?
Yeah, it's just @ElderNeedsLaw. It would be youtube.com/@ElderNeedsLaw, or type in Elder Needs Law in the search bar of YouTube, and we'll pop up. And I'm really proud of it. It's very little by way of sales, meaning the only sales aspect of it is, here's my phone number and my website if you want to call me. But otherwise, I'm answering very specific questions and trying to get good information out there. And I say, if you use this information, you hire another elder law attorney, I'm totally cool with that. I think rising tide rises all ships. I know other elder law attorneys subscribe to my channel because of all the good information. I'm just trying to get good knowledge and make people a more educated legal consumer. And that's what I'm doing with the YouTube channel.
Absolutely. And it takes time. So that's another thing, is like, you put enough systems in place to get it off your plate so you can actually then concentrate on your YouTube channel. And I watched it. And that's one of the reasons why you're here, because I go like, wow, you are so knowledgeable. And the way you present the information is so clear and so good that I definitely want to talk to you some more, because, and that is very important, because putting out that information and showing yourself as a thought leader in that area is very important, but it takes time. So by you actually predicting the systems that can be predicted, then you allow yourself more time to do other things. And as you said, you're creating those systems of marketing. Why would it change from 1 month to another? And I think that is a very good point that can alleviate some of that anxiety or some of that fear that entrepreneurs might feel. Like if they look at it like rationally, going like, okay, it's been good. If I'm going to continue doing the same things, it's probably going to continue. I'm going to improve on things, and bringing on talented people, especially if you have the onboarding systems in place, will allow you to get to the next level.
That's right. That's right.
Right. And Jason, you also wrote a book.
I wrote a book. It pertains to Florida. Some people around the country have read it because there's some concepts that apply nationwide, but it is Florida specific. And it's just called How to Get Medicaid to Pay for Some or All of Your Long-Term Care Expenses Without Having to Wait 5 years, without having to sell your house, without having to go broke first. It's a long title, but I'm trying to get in like the people's biggest fears into the title. And it's published since 2018, and I revise it every year or two. So if I have a 2024 version out, then I'll try to get one out for 2025 as well. And it's just, again, it's all about, some people go, I'm not ready to have a consultation with you. Or go, okay, well, here's a way where you can get good knowledge. We can bust some of the myths that are out there and use it to make yourself a more educated legal consumer. It's written for non-attorneys, and people seem to like it. So I'm really proud of it.
Great. So if people want to buy that book, where should they go?
Amazon. It's on Amazon. It's also on Audible if they want to hear an audio version. And what I'll do is I'll send you the link. So if you wanted to put it in the show notes.
Absolutely. They will be in the show notes, and our listeners should definitely go and
that's great.
Check out the book, because even if it's for Florida, I'm sure you can gather different tips and ideas that then you consult with your own lawyer or bring it up. What about that? What about that? And I'm sure that a lot of it applies to other states as well, and it will give you very good ideas on how to handle the situation. Amazing. Amazing. Jason, what would be like if you are giving now, and let's say you needed to give advice to yourself 10 years ago, what would be the best advice you can give yourself?
It would either be to hire sooner, or it would be to invest in a good practice management system sooner. I've switched from one to the other. I'm now switching to another one. And a little bit try to avoid shiny object syndrome, but really invest in a good practice management system that you can see yourself growing. Don't buy the system that is going to work for you for your first $500,000 if you want to be a multi-million-dollar law firm in the next few years. Invest in a system
for any business, not just a law firm. It actually applies to any business, because I think what you're saying here, it's incredible tip. It's like, don't wait to hire. Nothing will happen. Always ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? And take a look at it and see if it's rational or not rational, just like you did, right? And then see, you have to have return on investment from your hires. I mean, you have an amazing, amazing practice manager. I got to meet her. She's incredible. She has, she's a true manager that really allows you then to do the things, as you said, to be a better lawyer, to market, etc. You can't go wrong with it. If you seek the right advice, if you learn how to hire correctly, if you have the systems in place and are able to train them, absolutely.
That's right.
And the other thing, you're right, is invest in the tools, whether it's consultants, like you said, or whether it is in a software that is really look forward, look ahead. Don't get, okay, right now I'm going to get this system and it's going to take me into the next few months. Really look ahead. Think strategically, because that's really what you do as a visionary, right?
Right. Yep. I think if I had hired someone like you, Adi, sooner, I would be in a much better place, because we're still, the processes is an ongoing, living, changing animal. And I think I struggled for years by just kind of trying to keep it all in my head and just write a couple little bullet points down. But hiring someone who professionally is able to get down the policies and procedures and help you, because if you've seen it a million times before, there's nothing special about my business. You know what I'm saying? We have wonderful people and we help a lot of people, but businesses operate pretty much the same among different dimensions. There's some components that just don't differ. You need a intake team, you need a sales team, you need people who are going to do the work, you need people who are going to make sure the customer or the client are happy. And those are all fairly similar across industries. And if I had someone like you sooner, I know I would have been in a better position. So I think that people need to, if they can do it themselves, fine. But I think if most people are honest with themselves, if they're building a business, especially for the first time, they are not going to have the experience someone like you has, who you've worked with, I don't know, hundreds or 1,000 different businesses, to show, hey, here's the mistakes that other people make. Let's prevent you from having to make those mistakes. So I wanted to, applaud what you do as well. And I hope people take advantage of what you have to offer, because it's really important.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And talking about timing,
Yeah.
What is the best timing for your clients to come to you? Is it like, when is it too late? And when do you prefer that they actually contact you?
It's too late if they really have nothing. So the idea is, what I really do is, in a nutshell, it's asset protection for the middle class, right? The idea is, if you're wealthy, you can afford all these services. And if you're indigent, you may already qualify for the government services. It's everyone in the middle, the working class, the middle class folks, people who own their home, or maybe not, but on top of that have, $100, $200, $500, $600,000. They're going to lose everything. And a lot of people do lose everything, and before they think to call someone like me. And I can work with people and save 80%, 90% of what they've accumulated over their life, and stretch their dollar out further so they can afford a higher quality of life and make it more likely to stay at home longer or pay for a facility. And then, because we're stretching out their dollar, making it more likely they'll have something to pass on to their heirs. So it's before they run out of things is really when they need to call me. Otherwise, it's never too late.
Understood.
Yes.
Yeah. It's all about, it's prediction, right? It's predicting and looking ahead, and not putting your head in the sand and say it's going to be okay. It's proactively creating. And that's true in business. It's true in life. It's true in planning, etc. Jason, amazing knowledge. You can totally help. I can see how you help people and why they should contact you. So we talked about the book. We talked about the YouTube channel. It's all going to be in the show notes.
Great.
If they want to reach out to you directly, how can they do that?
Yeah, we got the number behind me here that goes to our central intake. It's 786-756-8169. And our website, they can fill out a form on elderneedslaw.com. If they ask questions on the YouTube channel, I respond to questions. So I try to make it easy for people to get in touch with me the best I can.
Amazing. And to our listeners, reach out to Jason. As you can see, even if you don't live in the state of Florida, it's worth to know him and ask questions, and look at the YouTube channel, buy the book, and, reach out. Absolutely. I know, Jason, you would love to help as many people as you can.
Wherever I can.
And I know it's your mission to actually change that, the structure and the conditions of that particular strata. And I think it's very, very important.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.